Hello and welcome back to DevOps Fundamentals by SkillSpeed. In this video, we are going to talk about Chef Workstation. In the last video, we spoke about Chef Server, its architecture and components, and then we saw how to install Chef Server on a local virtual machine. In this video, we will continue, and this time we will talk about the workstation, the components of a workstation, and how to configure a Chef Workstation for Chef Cookbook development. Alright, so what exactly is a Chef Workstation? Chef Workstation is a computer system where all the configurations are developed to be uploaded to Chef Server from where they flow to required nodes. It runs Chef Development Kit, which is a package that contains everything which is required to implement Chef. And Chef TK is required to author the cookbooks and the recipes, which are the building blocks of Chef ecosystem. Typically speaking, every Chef developer in your infrastructure will have his or her own laptop configured as a Chef Workstation. And it is the system where users carry out most of the configuration related tasks, such as development of cookbooks and recipes, testing cookbooks, recipes, and other chef code, defining roles and environments, using data bags for storing critical data, and defining all the required policies. So in a nutshell, anything and everything which you do on in the Chef ecosystem, actually you perform that activity on the Chef Workstation. So the components which are required to configure a Chef Workstation. First of all, you of course need to have a laptop. Now, unlike Chef Server, you have a lot more flavors and operating systems supported on which you can install and configure a Chef Workstation. We'll take a look at that a little later. So the first component is Chef Development Kit. This is basically a small piece of software which you can download from downloads.chef.io. It is a package that contains everything that is needed to start Chef and to start using Chef. The first thing is Chef Client and Ohai, which are the tools installed on the Chef Workstation as well as on Chef Node. Then Knife command line utility, which is again required to for the Chef Workstation to interact with the Chef Server. Testing tools such as Test Kitchen, Chef Spec, Cook Style, Food Critic, etc. InSpec, which is again a testing framework for Chef, and more or less everything which is needed to author cookbooks and upload them to the Chef Server. So whatever you want to do with Chef as a Chef developer, you need to have the Chef Development Kit installed and configured. The second component is Chef Repo, the short form for Chef Repository. It is a repository structure in which cookbooks are authored, tested, and maintained. So you have cookbooks, roles, recipes, your user.pem files, and a lot of other things are inside this Chef repository. This is the master repository which contains all the information, all the data about your Chef ecosystem, which is there on your workstation as a Chef developer. So cookbooks basically contains recipes, attributes, custom resources, libraries, files, templates, and almost pretty much anything. So Chef repo structure varies across different organizations based on the business requirements. Some of them, however, remain to be constant. So for example, in a Chef repository, you need to mandatorily have a .chef folder, which will contain knife.rb file, which is the configuration file for Knife, and a user.pem file, which is the authentication file required for you as a Chef developer to interact with the Chef Server. And apart from that, it will always have a recipes folder, a cookbooks folder, which will contain all the cookbooks and recipes. Some organizations have all the cookbooks in a single Chef repository, and some of them they prefer a different repository for every single cookbook. So it completely depends on what is your requirement, what is the size of your organization, the complexity, and other such details. And finally, we need to have Knife as a utility. As we know, Knife is part of Chef Development Kit, so you don't have to install it separately. However, since it is the tool which we will be working with mostly, so it definitely requires a mention on its own. It's basically a command line utility which is responsible for providing interface between local Chef repository and Chef server. So you are on the Chef workstation and you need to interact with the Chef server, right? So for that, Knife is the utility through which you do all that. And in the process, it helps you to manage nodes, cookbooks and recipes, roles, environments, data bags, etc. Resources within various cloud environments, the installation of the Chef client onto the nodes, typically known as the bootstrapping process, and searching of indexed data on the Chef server. So pretty much anything you do, you need to use the Knife command. This is a sample knife.rb file. It resides inside the .chef directory, as we have seen before. We will take a look at it in the demo section, and some of the details, as you can see here, it keeps the Chef server URL. It has the location of the validation client name, the client key, where exactly it is residing, and the default cookbook path for your location, and a couple of other things, right? At a minimum, it needs to have the node name, the client key, the Chef server URL, and the cookbook path. These are the mandatory location